November 2018 began like any other cold season in Van Buren, Arkansas, but inside one house, the last hours of 2-year-old Olivia Soto's life were already disappearing into a haze of drugs, sleep, and stories that would keep changing. She had just turned 2, and 4 days later, she was dead inside the home she shared with her mother, Eva Millard, and Eva's partner, Jordan Shrieve. By the time the case was over, jurors, detectives, reporters, and Olivia's own father would all be left staring at the same terrible question: what really happened in that bedroom? At first, the story sounded almost ordinary in the way tragedies sometimes do: a child in a crib. A mother waking up late, panic, a call for help, but nothing at that scene stayed ordinary for long. Investigators would soon say Olivia's injuries were not consistent with a fall. They would point to blood in multiple rooms, bruising on her face, and a death they believed came at the hands of a person, not an accident. That one conclusion would tear apart every explanation offered in the first hours. What made the case even darker was the behavior of the adults around Olivia. Police said Jordan called 911 for an ambulance, then left the home before first responders arrived. Later, during trial coverage, officials said evidence suggested Olivia had been dead for 8 to 10 hours before that emergency call was ever made. So from the very beginning, this was never just a story about a child being found unresponsive. It was a story about delay, movement, concealment, and 2 adults trying to explain a death that no longer matched the words coming out of their mouths. And over all of it hung the grief of Olivia's biological father, Jose Soto, who would later describe having to step out of court because the anger and pain were too much to carry in public. For him, this was never about legal theory. It was about his daughter's face, his daughter's name, and the unbearable fact that while strangers debated timelines and testimony, Olivia herself had no voice left except the evidence.
In the truck.
Okay.
That's what I seen her.
She was in the crib?
Not the crib, the playpen.
Oh yeah, right. She was in the playpen.
Yes.
And so, was she laying on her back, on her side?
On her back.
Okay.
And
what made you notice that something wasn't right?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
Did she look abnormal? Did she look?
She had her arm up like this, and her mouth was open, and she was on her back. And I seen her, and it was kind of dark in the room, but she wasn't moving at all. And I touched her, and I yelled at Jordan, because when I touched her, I knew something was wrong with her. And then he was trying to calm me down because I was freaking out.
Okay.
And I hadn't picked her up yet. But her little belly and stuff was warm. But her arm was stiff. So I started freaking out when I picked her up. I had her right here. She had stuff coming out of her mouth under my shirt. Well, then I put her on the couch. No, Jordan had taken her from me. I can't really remember, it's all so crazy. And I told him I noticed this stuff on my shoulder, so I thought she might be choking. And I told her, I said, put her on her belly on the couch. And he did, and then stuff started coming out of her mouth. I said, where did the blood come from? Where is it coming from? Because I didn't know. She's tried to crawl out of that crib before.
Well, that's not the cause of it, because she was in the crib.
Yeah, but she fell back into the crib because she couldn't get out of the crib.
Yeah, but that's not a hard surface. That's she could have fell out on the carpet and it wouldn't hurt her. That's not going to cause her to die. Absolutely not.
So I don't know what happened, sir.
What's with all the bruising? Why is she bruised?
I thought she fell on her face. I don't know. When I put her to bed...
You talking about in the crib deal?
Yes. When I put her to bed, none of that was on her.
Okay.
I swear to God, none of that was on her.
So at 4 o'clock, did you put her back in her bed?
I did.
You did, okay.
And then I fell asleep. After that, I don't know what happened.
Okay.
The only thing I could think of is she fell. I didn't hurt my kid. I was through everything with her.
In her first interrogation, Eva described waking up and finding Olivia in the playpen, then touching her and immediately knowing something was terribly wrong. She talked about fluid coming from Olivia's mouth, about panic, about confusion, and about not understanding what she was seeing. It is one of the most haunting parts of the case because even stripped of every later contradiction, that first description already sounds like a scene no mother could ever forget and no detective could ever accept without testing every detail. Then the room began to close in. Detectives told Eva there was significant trauma, too much trauma, and they pushed her toward the conclusion that someone inside that house had done this. They told her no stranger came in, killed Olivia, and placed her back in bed. That left only a narrowing circle, and Eva's answers kept drifting between denial, fear, and the insistence that she had not hurt her child. The investigators were no longer listening for comfort. They were listening for the first fracture in the lie. Physical evidence made the pressure worse. Detectives confronted Eva about blood on the couch and baby wipes in the trash, telling her tests showed it was blood, not vomit. Eva resisted, saying that was not what she thought she had seen, and at one point insisted she did not even know those wipes were in the trash can. The argument mattered, because by then the case was no longer about whether Olivia died in that home. It was about whether someone tried to clean part of that death away before police ever stepped through the door. Outside the interrogation room, official reports were starting to tell the same grim story in public language. News coverage said Olivia suffered severe head trauma. Detectives found blood on the couch, down the hallway, and on a dresser in the bedroom. And the explanation first offered by the adults, that she may have fallen out of her crib, was already collapsing under the weight of what the medical findings and scene evidence were beginning to show.
Well, police say Jordan Shrieve went to Michigan to start a new life before his stepdaughter Olivia's death was ruled a homicide. But when Shrieve came back to move out of his things out of his Van Buren home, he was arrested. It's been more than 3 months since Olivia died.
This is 2-year-old Olivia Soto. Jose Soto says his daughter loved pink and stuffed animals, but she never got to play with this one.
She loves playing outside. Every time we get her attention, she would just smile and laugh. One of many days that I won't forget.
Soto lives in Fort Smith, but on November 8th, Olivia was found dead inside her mother and stepfather's Van Buren home.
It's still tough. I mean, I still have an emptiness for the rest of my life. Holidays, birthdays, special days. If I see a dad or a mother with a little kid, taller, just playing around, it brings memories or things that I could have done.
According to the police report, Jordan Shrieve called 911 when his wife noticed Olivia was unresponsive. The report says Shrieve left the house before police and first responders arrived to take a friend home. Before he returned home, reports show he called and talked with his ex-wife. The couple told police that Olivia may have fallen out of her crib, but police say the medical examiner ruled Olivia died from excessive head trauma.
The injuries that were discovered by the crime lab were not consistent with falling out of a crib, not consistent with a fall at all. The injuries that Olivia sustained had to have been caused by a person.
The crime lab reported blood was found on the couch in the living room, in a hallway, and on a stuffed animal, but no one was arrested for more than 3 months. That changed Friday when police say this moving trailer appeared outside the Van Buren home. Jordan Shrieve was found at a nearby hotel and arrested in connection with Olivia's death. Her father says it's a start.
Because I know that one of them is not out there living their lives like nothing happened. You will pay for what you did to my daughter. It's plain and simple.
And today, Shrieve was issued a $1 million bond. Now, police say the investigation is ongoing and that it's also possible that Olivia's mother could face criminal charges. Live in Van Buren, Brett Rains, 4029 News.
Jordan Shrive's interrogation opened with the same formal calm that so many homicide interviews begin with, but it did not stay calm for long. He laid out a timeline of cigarettes, errands, pills, and a trip involving Billy, telling detectives he returned home, went into the bathroom to crush pills, and that Eva was the one who found Olivia. It was a version built around movement and separation, a version that placed him near the event, but always just one step away from the fatal moment. But Jordan also admitted the world around that morning was soaked in drug use. He acknowledged oxycodone use and said the case was drug-related in that sense, and he admitted he had sold some pills. That admission mattered because it gave detectives motive for the comings and goings, explained the chaotic behavior inside the house, and at the same time damaged his credibility. A man asking to be believed was also admitting he was high, distracted, and living inside a routine built around narcotics. Then detectives told him plainly what he was up against. Olivia did not die from an accident, and she did not die from illness. In the interrogation, they told Jordan the baby was killed. His answer was immediate and categorical. He said he did not hurt that child, that he was not abusive, that he was not that kind of person. In almost any other case, that denial might be a turning point. Here, it only became another statement to compare against the clocks, the calls, and the blood, because the timeline around the 911 call was already becoming one of the most suspicious parts of the entire investigation. Detectives told Jordan his account did not make sense, not with the drive he described, not with the time it would take, and not with police response. What should have been a desperate emergency was beginning to look, in the eyes of investigators, like a stretch of time filled with choices no innocent person should have made.
Because the only thing I cleaned up yesterday was...
How about today? Did you use any wipes?
No, I haven't used. No, sir.
Because there's blood smear on the floor. Maybe, I don't know, I was thinking maybe the blood got on the floor and y'all were just trying to clean it up real quick.
No.
Just to clean it up, Raj.
When she got the baby out, it's hard to tell because she was so frantic with her, holding her. That's why I didn't know at first what was wrong, because she grabbed her out of there. And, and then she ran to, I think, the living room. I can't really recollect all. It was just, I was panicking, and she ran to the living room, and then it was back and forth, and all that stuff was on her shirt. So she laid her down on the couch, I think, from what I can remember. And then she's flipped her over, then we flipped her over,
So what happened to her?
She might have picked her up right again, huh?
What happened to her?
I do not know.
This is the deal, Jordan. You, Eva, and your dad. Only three in the house.
Yes.
Only three in the house.
Yes, sir.
Right? We can both agree on that.
Yes.
Right? Okay. The baby did not die from an accident. The baby did not die from illness.
Yeah.
Okay? The baby was killed. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So,
all I can tell you is where I was and what I've done.
well, there was a lot of time you were up when when Eva was in bed asleep.
She was in bed. Does that mean she was sleeping? I don't know.
I don't know, man.
I can't tell you. I can only tell you what I was doing.
Because when you called, so you was pretty frantic when you called 911?
I called at first, and I was like, I didn't know because I couldn't see, and she was freaking out, calling 911, and I'm like, what's wrong? And she's saying that the baby was stiff or something. I'm like, well, check her pulse. And I called, it's hard to remember. I had it on deal, and I was like, well, I'll call back because I didn't know. And I was like, set her down so I could see her. I couldn't see her. And then I seen her.
Call back.
I called back. Yeah.
You told him you'd call back?
Yeah, I just said that real quick, and then when she set her down, I could see what she looked like. I called. I called right back. I knew that there was something wrong.
Okay. Is there a reason why you didn't tell Billy what was going on?
I didn't know what to tell him. I didn't know what the deal was yet. I didn't know what was going on.
Jordan, do you understand everything that you did absolutely makes no sense whatsoever? You understand what I'm saying?
I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you, sir.
I mean, that just don't make sense, man, at all. Why would you... Oh, I'm gonna run Billy home real quick.
Because I didn't know what to do. We just went and got drugs. Okay,
and you got your wife's baby there dead.
I know, I didn't know she was dead. I thought I felt a pulse when we felt it. I didn't know that for sure. Why would I call an ambulance?
When you called, you was pretty calm.
I'm just telling you from what I'm telling you. I only know where I was and can vouch for the time where I was.
Okay.
I don't know what she did. She was in bed. I don't know if she was sleeping. I told you, you can look at my phone calls of where I've called today or whatever.
Jordan's second interrogation segment pushed him even harder when investigators introduced a polygraph procedure. The test itself was not the story, the reaction was. When asked directly whether he killed Olivia, Jordan answered no, but afterward the examiner told him the charts showed major deception on that key question. Whether or not anyone trusts a polygraph, the moment mattered because it shifted the interrogation from simple denial into confrontation, and Jordan could feel the ground giving way beneath his version of events. From there, detectives zeroed in on behavior that made even less sense the more they repeated it out loud. Jordan said he did not know Olivia was dead, said he thought there might have been a pulse, and said he was panicked. Yet later questioning highlighted visible blood, bruising, blue lips, and the fact that he still left. He also had to explain extended calls with his ex-wife, with detectives laying out call durations that made his claimed urgency look thinner and thinner by the minute. By the third and fourth parts of his interrogation, Jordan's own family dynamics entered the room. Pam, his ex-wife, confronted him over how bad it looked that he had spent so long talking without mentioning the baby. Jordan tried to shrink the timeline, saying what looked like a much longer period only felt like around 10 minutes to him. That answer, like so many in this case, did not erase suspicion. It only turned suspicion into something measurable. And still, Jordan kept returning to the same theme. He did not do anything to Olivia, he did not know who did, and he would never hurt her. The problem was that detectives no longer believed this case could survive on sympathy or character statements. The house was too small, the circle was too tight, and the injuries were too severe. By then, every version of innocence had to compete with one unforgiving fact: Olivia died, while only a few adults controlled the entire world around her.
Trial of a Van Buren man accused of murdering his stepdaughter got underway today. Jordan Shrieve is charged in the death of 2-year-old Olivia Soto. The girl died in November of 2018 at the home she shared with her mother and Shrieve. Prosecutors allege she died because of abuse. We have had a crew in the courtroom all day today following developments. We've learned that a lot of photos and video evidence will be presented. Witnesses will include police and other first responders. We've also learned that no death penalty is on the table in this case. We spoke to Olivia Soto's dad today about the trial.
I hope and I pray for justice. You know, like you guys are following me and us in this trial. Just keep the prayers coming and hopefully everything comes out right the way it should.
Jury selection wrapped up in the case late this afternoon. Testimony starts at 8:30 tomorrow morning.
Eva's later interrogation was different from Jordan's because detectives stopped treating her like a witness to confusion and started treating her like someone standing between them and the truth. They told her flatly that if she did not kill Olivia, then Jordan did. They challenged her loyalty, saying they did not believe Jordan's father was capable of it. So to them, the path kept circling back to Jordan. In that room, the detectives were not just investigating a homicide. They were trying to force a choice between love and survival. One of the strongest pressure points was Jordan's behavior after Olivia was found. Detectives focused on the fact that he called 911 and then left, and they zeroed in on a roughly 40-minute stretch in which, they said, he spoke with his ex-wife without once mentioning Olivia. For investigators, this was not just strange behavior. It was behavior that suggested knowledge, the kind of cold, compartmentalized knowledge that does not belong to panic, but to someone already thinking about himself. Eva did not fully break, but you can hear the tension in how she defended Jordan while also struggling to explain him. Earlier, she had said he told her he did not kill Olivia. Later in the interrogation, detectives kept pushing her toward the idea that he had lied and that she knew more than she was saying. The deeper they went, the less the interview sounded like a search for facts, and the more it sounded like a war over which impossible truth Eva could bear to say out loud first. Then came the emotional collapse that detectives wanted. During the voice-stress confrontation in Part 4, Eva lashed out when told the results suggested she had witnessed more than she was admitting. She rejected the machine, rejected the accusation, and exploded in anger and disbelief. It is one of the most volatile moments in the raw footage because it shows what happens when the official story, the emotional story, and the private story all hit the same wall at once.
Ill, and Jordan is a softer sleeper, I would say. Because sometimes he wakes up or he'll tell me he's going to do something or whatever, and I don't even remember it. But he says I do. You know what I mean? He's like, hey, you do. I remember telling you. You know what I mean? And
so how did he feel about having to get up in the middle of the night if he had to get up with Olivia?
yeah, I don't think he ever cared.
Never said anything to you about it or got frustrated or anything like that?
No. He's always told me that he takes my kids as his. And that's one reason why I loved him. Most men aren't like that nowadays. They don't want kids.
Well, that bond that you have with Olivia, you know, I would hope that if there was any information that you had that could make it right for her,
I would.
You would.
I swear I would.
As a mom, you almost have a duty to step up and you do have it.
I've been racking my brain this whole time I've been sitting here, but I can't remember it's going to sleep.
So what do you think happened?
I already told you.
Knowing that she can't fall out of the pack and play and break her neck on her own.
I don't know what else to tell you.
What other theories would you have?
I don't want to sit here and believe that the person that I brought into our life, she can't bring him into our lives, would hurt her. I don't want to believe that.
Do you think he'd be capable of doing that?
I don't. And I know that's insane, and I know anybody's incapable of doing anything.
Do you think his drug problem could make him capable of doing that?
No. I mean, I don't know. He doesn't seem like an angry person. He's just...
So I talked to his ex-wife. Did you know that I talked to her? And so he called 911 at the house. Were you there when he called 911?
I didn't hear him say anything, but I screamed at him to call 911 over and over and over again. He thought I was overreacting.
Okay. So he called 911 and he left. And then are you aware that he talked to her on the phone?
Talked to her, yes.
For about 40 minutes? Okay, and she described that as being abnormal behavior for him, which I find fairly abnormal. The fact that
When the case finally reached trial, the story moved from interrogation rooms to a courtroom where every contradiction had to stand in public. Eva Millard took the stand, and in one of the biggest reversals in the case, told jurors she believed Jordan Shrieve killed her daughter. She admitted she was an addict, admitted terrible decisions, and said she did not kill Olivia. It was a devastating moment because the woman who once helped support the Cribfall story was now pointing directly at the man who had shared that story with her. Prosecutors told the jury Olivia had been beaten, suffered a fractured skull, and had oxycodone in her system. Court coverage also said officials testified Olivia may have been dead for 8 to 10 hours before Jordan made the 911 call. Photos from the home showed blood stains in multiple rooms, including the master bedroom where Olivia was found. This was the state's case in its starkest form: severe trauma, delayed action, and adults whose timelines only got murkier under oath. Yet the trial also exposed the weaknesses that can haunt even the most emotionally overwhelming cases. The defense attacked inconsistencies, challenged credibility, and pushed back against the state's narrative through witness testimony and cross-examination. Jordan's family took the stand. His brother said he had never seen Jordan act violently, even while admitting Jordan's addiction history made him far from a good father figure. In a courtroom, suspicion is never enough by itself. It has to survive the rules. All the while, Jose Soto sat through it with a grief that reporters could barely summarize. He spoke publicly about stepping out when he could not handle what he was hearing. For him, the legal process offered no comfort, only repetition, blood photographs, trauma testimony, changing stories, and the unbearable exercise of listening to strangers reconstruct the final hours of his little girl, as if certainty might somehow return her to him.
The trial for a man accused of murdering his 2-year-old stepdaughter, Olivia Soto, wrapping up its first week in court. And tonight, we're hearing exclusively from Olivia's biological father. In November 2018, Jordan Shrieve was accused of killing 2-year-old Olivia in their Van Buren home. This week in court, officials say Soto had been dead for about 8 to 10 hours before Shrieve made the call to 911. Attorneys also released several photos from detectives on the day of her death. including blood stains in multiple rooms throughout the house and inside the master bedroom where Soto was found dead. Her biological mother, Eva Millard, took the stand today, detailing the day her daughter died. She had originally told police Soto died by falling out of a crib, and detectives mentioned Soto had head trauma. Olivia's father, Jose, spoke exclusively with 5 News, saying it's hard to go through each day of the trial waiting for justice.
When I step out and I can't handle what I hear or see, why I lie about it, anger, and I just bawl, crying. So I have to step out for a minute and, take control over myself.
If convicted, Shrieve could face up to life in prison. Make sure to stay with 5 News for updates as this trial continues.
In the aftermath call with her adoptive mother, Eva can be heard pleading through shock, saying she did not hurt Olivia and asking what she should do. It is one of the saddest pieces of raw material in the entire case because it captures a person trapped between performance and grief, between genuine panic and the possibility that panic itself had become part of the defense. Whether viewers hear innocence, denial, or something in between, the clip lands the same way every time. Olivia is gone, and everyone left behind is talking around a silence too big to fill. The story did not end with Eva's plea. Later, Crawford County's prosecutor announced that U.S. Marshals in California had arrested Eva after probation violations, including a positive test for amphetamines and THC and a theft allegation. In that same coverage, the prosecutor went even further, publicly calling her the person he believed was likely responsible for killing her own daughter. Years after Olivia died, the case was still moving, still accusing, still unresolved in the only way that mattered emotionally. So the lasting horror of Olivia Soto's case is not only the violence suggested by the evidence, it is the vacuum left by every answer that failed to hold. The mother changed her story. The stepfather denied everything and was acquitted. Detectives pushed both of them until the walls shook, but the courtroom could not turn suspicion into certainty. What remains is a little girl whose death was ruled the act of a person, and a record full of adults who were there, who knew pieces, and who never delivered one complete truth. And that is where the case truly ends, not with closure, but with Olivia. A child who turned 2, lived 4 more days, and then became the center of interrogations, plea deals, acquittals, headlines, and blame. Long after the interviews ended and the verdicts were read, the most honest thing left to say is also the simplest. Olivia Soto should have been protected, and she was not.
I don't know, Mama. I don't know what to think. Yeah. Yes. He said he had to drop his friend off. Billy. His friend Billy. We didn't know yet.
But she had blood coming out.
Huh? Okay, this morning, he woke me up telling me he was leaving. I said, okay. Well, I had rolled back over, you know what I mean? Went to sleep. Whenever he got back home, he had woke me up. I got up. That's when I noticed Olivia. He had already had Billy in a truck with him, and he left. To me, that's crazy. To these people, that's crazy too. But I just don't see Jordan hurting my baby, Mom. But I don't know. But they said it. What do you say, Mom?
Then came the verdict that turned the whole case into something even more troubling. After a trial lasting just over a week and about 2 hours of deliberation, jurors found Jordan Shrieve not guilty of first and second-degree murder. In that instant, the man detectives had spent so long tearing apart walked out of the courtroom without a murder conviction, and the central accusation that drove the investigation no longer had the force of a jury behind it. But Olivia's death did not become less violent, and it did not become less suspicious. Even after Jordan's acquittal, official reporting continued to describe a child found in a home with blood in multiple rooms, bruising on her face, and injuries inconsistent with a crib fall. The verdict did not solve the case. It widened the void at the center of it. Because if Jordan was not legally proven to be the killer, then the system was left with the same unbearable truth detectives had confronted from the first week. Somebody in that home knew more than they had said. Eva's own criminal case continued after Jordan's trial. She was charged with permitting abuse of a child involving death and endangering the welfare of a minor. Her trial was delayed, then ultimately resolved through a plea. She pleaded guilty to permitting child abuse resulting in death and to endangering the welfare of a minor. The legal system had not convicted anyone of murdering Olivia, but it had now formally established that Eva bore criminal responsibility for allowing the abuse that ended her daughter's life. And even that resolution sparked outrage because of the sentence. Official reports said Eva received a 20-year suspended sentence and 6 years of supervised probation, meaning she would not serve prison time behind bars under that deal. For many watching the case, especially those who had followed every interrogation and every report, that felt less like justice than a compromise too small for the size of Olivia's death.
A Van Buren mother accused in the death of her child has entered a plea deal. Eva Millard pleaded guilty today to charges of child endangerment and permitting child abuse. Now, those charges stem from the death of her daughter, Olivia Soto, who died in 2018 at her Van Buren home, 4 days after her second birthday. Now, as part of today's plea deal, Millard will receive a 20-year suspended sentence and 6 years of supervised probation, meaning she will not serve any time behind bars. The girl's stepfather, Jordan Shrieve, was arrested for the death and charged with murder. A jury found him not guilty earlier this year.